future is here. You now have the power to unlock the secrets of the hobby. An innovation that will change the way the industry works. The game changer is here. Card Ladder.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Conversations with Chris. This is episode number 7, and I have on the line an exclusive, the very first. In my opinion, this individual has one of the most important social media accounts in the hobby. We'll get into why that is in a minute. He's a great collector, not only of sports cards. That's a little tease for one of the segments that are forthcoming, but he's got great cards. He's got a great collection. He's also got, like I said, a great social media account. It is the one and only Mr. Lameme James. You can find him on Instagram at Lameme, L-E-Meme _ James. Lameme James on Instagram. Lameme James, how are you doing, my friend?
Chris, hey man, it's really great to be on your show. Like I said, one of probably the first hobby podcasts I've ever listened to is House of Jordans, and yeah, man, I really do appreciate the invite and the opportunity to talk to you. Oh man,
I feel privileged to have the exclusive because I've seen your Instagram account grow, and like it started, it was great, but it was still, coming together, still rough around the edges. All of a sudden, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 followers. I'm just browsing it right now. I mean, dude, you got posts on here with hundreds of comments, hundreds, thousands of views. And so let me just set the stage like this. Why is your Instagram account blowing up? Or maybe a different way to put it, what is the theme of your Instagram account and what is it all about?
Yeah, so, when I first came in the hobby, it was just mostly just posting my collection and just the kind of the normal formula that you see. But, where I found joy was just, just creating memes and creating content that people can relate to. And, I think my account is just a great example of, you don't have to have a 6-figure, 5-figure collection, to find your place and to put out content, man. It doesn't need, you don't need to have something like that. And so my account has grown through memes, and yeah, I just started one day and it seemed to have caught on. I didn't really see too many memes being pushed out in the hobby. So, pushing a couple out and just seeing the type of reaction I was getting, I just thought, hey man, it looks like it's something that the hobby could use. Because sometimes, our hobby, we love it, but it can be serious at times. So, I think that that comedic relief and just another way of seeing data and seeing topics and discussing and invoking thought, I think it's important.
Oh, it is. You're very humble to say just a couple memes, because when other people message me, like I get messages every day from people who are just discovering your account and they're sending me a new meme you made and they're laughing about it. And you put out sometimes half a dozen more memes per day. You're prolific with the memeology. How does that, man, I would have to put half a day's worth of thought into making one of your memes and it wouldn't even look good. Like where does the inspiration and the creativity come from?
So, man, I really think, I would say quarantine. Ever since, I want to say early mid-March, I've been under quarantine here in Europe. So I've had I do get a lot of time to come up with memes, but after a while and just seeing all the different content out there, it doesn't take that long to put together a meme. So I do try to target about 4 to 5 a day, but there are some days when the creative thought is flowing, and sometimes I can get up to 8 to 10. So it just really depends on what I got going on that day and and if my mind is turned on, right? So I have other obligations too. So, but yeah, so some days are better than other when it comes to creating memes.
For sure, man. For sure. You said you're over in Europe. What brings you over there? Like, well, tell us a little bit about the man behind the memes.
Yeah, so just it's work, man. It's strictly work that brought me over here to the Netherlands. So I've been here since 2018. So coming up, just past 2 years actually. Should have one more year left over here before hopefully I get to move back to the United States. So my job is going all over the world. So for the past 2 years, I've been able to kind of hang out in the Netherlands and see how you live up in Europe. So it's been great, man. It's been great.
Nice. Okay. What is your favorite meme of, I mean, and that's probably like trying to pick your favorite child or something, but do you have like one meme, that just the meme that stands above all the rest?
Yeah. So for me, my favorite meme is the Game of Thrones meme that I put out. And so kind of the story behind that one is, if you're a big Game of Thrones fan, you will definitely have some context and understand what's going on. It involves Jon Snow. And this scene from Game of Thrones is called, the fight scene is called Battle of the Bastards. And the way I see it is, if you are you familiar with the meme, Chris?
Yeah, I'm familiar with the meme. Yes, I am.
Yeah. So when I saw the clip, it's like you have Jon Snow all by himself, and he's in a dark spot because his brother, the footage leading up to that scene is his little brother was sent out. He was on the other side with the enemy as a prisoner. And so they send him forward to say, hey, go ahead, you're free. Go run to your brother over there. If you can make it, you're good. You're free, right? Go ahead. And so the little brother starts running across the battlefield, and he ends up getting killed by an arrow. So Jon Snow, he comes running out after him. And so this is a scene where, Jon Snow, his brother's dead. He feels kind of dejected. He's all alone. And so here comes the opposing army ready to kill his ass, pretty much. And so I kind of got a vibe off it where, okay, this is the lonely collector all by himself. And here comes this massive army that is the hobby, right? Not that, but some of the things that are going on in the hobby. So you got trimmers, you got manipulators, you got scammers, you got investors. You have all of that stuff coming at this lone collector, and it just looks like it's over, right? He has no chance. So that's and you see what happens like towards the end of the clip. He is then joined by, I would say, the hobby, right? The community, trusted sources, some other attributes for himself like patience and research. Those are the things that will join this collector and help him fight the enemy per se. So, that is my favorite meme by far.
Oh man, you just painted a terrific picture of that meme, and it has a great song in the background too that just ties it all together. Definitely one of my all-time favorite memes. When I shared it to my Instagram story, I probably had 20 people comment on it. It just really struck a chord, and I couldn't sum it up any better. Like, if you want to know why to follow this account, like, that just summed it up amazing. And the creativity and the connecting ideas that goes on in these memes. It's really lighthearted and it's fun, but like, man, there's levels to it also. Okay, so what's been your what is other people's favorite memes been? I mean, I know people love that one, but what has been maybe your most popular meme that people comment to you about the most?
Yeah, so I think right now I would say based on the likes, the most popular by far, the most popular meme was when National Treasures first came out, and everyone knew what the hunt was there, right? It was the 101 logo man Zion, right? That's the hunt, but also because that can pretty much be unattainable, right? I mean, there's only one person in the world that's going to get that card. So, the other hunt was the Zion vertical RPA out of 99 from National Treasures. And so I put out a meme of a breaker opening up National Treasures and pulling a Zion RPA. And then it was a split screen meme. And on the right side was just this family reacting to something. And I'm not sure what they were reacting to, but I don't know if you remember this meme. But
I did. I remember this one. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, and so the genesis behind this one was, what's crazy is when I was growing up, Chris, I opened up my own wax, man. I kind of started, I remember some of my first packs were 91 Upper Deck basketball, I believe. And I believe that's the first year of Upper Deck. It's Dikembe Mutombo's, and I want to say Shaq was a rookie there. And, I opened up my own packs, and today, especially with a high-end product like National Treasures, it's like you're not, I mean, maybe like 5-10% of the hobby can actually afford to open up their own box. But for the most of us, that's, you're joining a group break to get in on some National Treasures. And so, oftentimes when you see YouTube, well, who's opening it? It's not the individual. It's a breaker, and so I don't necessarily know you get that true raw emotion, especially a breaker, right? They do their best. I mean, and they gotta show some excitement. Sometimes it's kind of breakers are different, right? Some of them, they're a little quiet. Some of them, they get too excited. They start yelling all over the place. I just don't know if you get that true emotion as like someone opening their own box. And so that's what I try to portray here was, well, how do I think someone would feel if they opened up an NTRPA and it wasn't a breaker? It's actually theirs. And I so happen to run across this clip. It's a viral clip that's gone, that's used as a reaction all over the internet. It's been remixed so many times. And so I thought, what, let me throw some hobby in there. And I think this is the perfect way to do that. So that's the most popular meme by far if you base it on like count.
Yeah, that's awesome. You've got some great breaker related content, like the Stephen A. Smith reaction memes to the breaks.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's actually the second most popular one. It's Stephen A. Smith, and it's just a clip of again this one's actually a picture in picture, a video on video style, and someone's opening NT again, and out they pull Terrence Mann. How would you feel dropping $5K a box and pulling a damn Terrence Mann at a 90? Hey, no disrespect to any of the Terrence Mann collectors out there, but that shit's gotta hurt, man. It's gotta hurt.
Yeah, well, I have a slight beef with Terrence Mann anyway because him and Luka got locked up in a preseason game last year when Terrence Mann came up and slapped the ball out of Luka's hands, and Luka did not take kindly to that. So yeah, all respect due to the Terrence Mann collectors out there, but
yeah, and so, hey, I know I remember exactly. We've just seen highlights of it all the time. I remember that.
Yeah, okay, so but your most viral meme has to be the Cam Reddish auto meme, which makes me laugh just thinking about the visual. So, because the thing is, man, you made this meme, and it really struck a chord because the issue is that some player autographs in modern product, they're just really, really quickly put together. They might just be a little dash or a couple scribbles. And it's understandable. The players probably have to sign so much product, and maybe they're just not too concerned with what their autograph looks like, and that's their prerogative. But Cam Reddish has a very unique signature in certain products because it's pretty much a line, but not quite. There's a little more to it. There's like a little flair to it. But you made a meme that was a Cam Reddish card, but it was just like a slash. And now we've seen this meme take on a life of its own, and it's shown up in podcasts all over different message boards and in Facebook groups and Instagram groups and on Instagram posts. What's your reaction to seeing, and tell me a little bit about what you think about this, about some of these autographs, whether it's Mo Wagner or some of these other Rui Hachimura, some of these autographs, man. Even our boy Luca, he has a 4-letter autograph, which at least, it's a discernible name. But, tell me a little bit about making the Cam Reddish meme and then your reaction to kind of seeing it just take on a life of its own and become a huge viral topic in the hobby.
Yeah, it's crazy because I remember when I put that one out, for sure my follower count. I mean, I didn't think, there's no way I thought I could ever have that type of legs. There's no way. I mean, I'm just a small little account, right? And I think this was like a month ago, actually, or maybe it was a while. I mean, a month in a hobby's a long time, right? But yeah, there's no way I could have ever thought it would spread like that. And I'm a meme page, man. So, it's a lot of made content. So I think it's great because it brings awareness out to just some of the autos that the athletes are putting out. And it's nothing against any certain individual. I would imagine if you're signing thousands upon thousands of stickers and cards per year, it'd probably get a little stale, right? So, I'm not sure what Panini can do, but I just think it has brought awareness to, an impact of an auto. Like, so again, when I was growing up, the auto was the chase, especially with Upper Deck. And when you talk about autos and RPAs, that was the chase back then. No one, at least when I remember, and no one gave a damn about base and parallels. I didn't care about that growing up. I wanted an autograph. And when you look at MJ's auto, when you look at Kobe, you look at LeBron, man, those come out really legible, really clean, and it brought value to the card. But today, like you said, with it, whether it's just a line or a little scribble or some initials, yeah, it's tough to see on a card, especially when, you would expect those cards with an autograph on it to be the chase, and it's just not. And I don't know if that's due to the fact that many of these autos are now, you just can't read them, you just can't make them out. And so yeah, the meme, it's just crazy how far and how fast it spread throughout the hobby. But now I think it brings attention to an area that can be improved.
Yeah, it does. And so a final thought on memes before we move on. What it also does, man, is it brings some comedic relief, and it brings a pressure release, because the hobby, it can get intense, man. And especially you got guys spending a lot of money buying into breaks, or you got guys sinking a lot of money into prospects or into cards, and it gets tense and it gets super competitive. And then something absurd happens, like somebody's autograph is just, not what we expected. And it's funny. And we all can just breathe a little bit, and we can relax, and we can laugh, and we can have a good time. Because, there's athletes who have great autographs. Admiral Schofield has a great autograph. He actually, there's a big story about him, taking his time to really perfect the autograph. And, it's just a different era of autographs. I agree with you, man. There once was a point in time where pulling an auto out of a pack was a really, really, really big deal. And, now they're a little more commonplace, but that's just, that's what the people want, is they like the autos and stuff. But, it's comedic relief. And that's why I think your page, for me, your page probably means a lot of things to a lot of different people. But to me, it's comedic relief. It relieves the pressure. We laugh at ourselves. We can laugh at the hobby. We can all just kind of step back, not be so serious all the time, and just enjoy a good laugh and relax and maybe think about things a little bit differently too, because something happens when you laugh, when you find something funny, it disarms you, and then it makes way for you to kind of reflect on things a little bit and maybe see things a little bit differently, maybe evolve, maybe grow. That's why I think you have that on the one. I like that's important, and then the other reason why I think your page is really important is because it binds us together as a community, because you're given a voice to different frustrations and different enjoyments and different funny things that are going on in the hobby. You kind of tap into a whole bunch of different streams of thought that all kind of flow into this same lake, and your page is that lake. It's just the place where all these different, whether it's frustration with shield bidding, frustration with trimming, whether it's laughing at different things that happen in the hobby, like some of your paid in full memes are just hilarious. You just put one out that just captured how we all feel when we all like first get into the hobby and get that first big card, and we're trying to tell somebody else about what it's like and stuff. And like, so that's the other thing too, is that your page, like it gives us all a place to gather and sort of laugh and experience a hobby together. So those, maybe I'm taking memes a little too seriously in my analysis there. I wonder what you think about that, but just any final thoughts from you, man, on what memes mean to the hobby and why they seem to resonate so much with people.
Yeah, I mean, that's the end. That's a lot of internet, right? Is memes, and it's just I think it's just a quick way to consume data, right, and to consume information and just be aware of topics. Look, these memes that I put out, let me tell you something about them. They are for the hobby. If you're not in the hobby, you do not understand these memes. Like you talk BGS, SGC, PSA, Grails, PC, you got SSP, SP, gem rates. Like, who understands that crap? That shit's the crazy ass lingo. And if you are not in the hobby and you see my meme, all you're gonna see is the recycled content of, say, like a SpongeBob, or is it? Oh, who else do I use? Or Kermit. Like, you've seen those pictures, you've seen these videos before. But if you don't understand that caption and that hobby, the sprinkle of hobby that I try to throw on it, and you don't understand our hobby, then you ain't gonna understand the meme, and it will mean nothing to you. But if you are in this game, then yeah, it's gonna strike a certain chord with you. And it's odd. One of the things that people have asked me is just certain memes, like why would a meme get more likes than others, or why would someone have more gravitate towards that meme and it's what the meme, like, so you got some people that grew up on SpongeBob, right? So when they see a SpongeBob meme, and then of course you throw the hobby on there, they're probably more, they gravitate more towards that, and they're more familiar with that. So I think just trying to splash in, like, whether it's SpongeBob, Kermit, or whether it's bringing in some sports culture like Stephen A. Smith, or whether it's just some of the other viral photos that and memes that you're used to seeing out there, and then throwing the hobby content on there. Yeah, I just think it just strikes a chord with people, and we find a familiar ground in there. And so, yeah, I mean, you've said it a lot more eloquent than I ever could, but yeah, I just think that's the purpose it serves. We can all just find a common ground and just another way to see something, and hopefully invoke that conversation and thought.
Well said, man. Well said. Okay, let me transition now to your collection. So your collection is, you have a lot of young superstars in your collection, but like Trey Young is your guy. So tell me a little bit, why do you like Trey so much? Where do you see him going as a future NBA player? Tell me about Trey Young.
I'm gonna tell you what everyone always tells me. that he can't play defense, and that's the line I always get. But yeah, man, I know. To me, I don't care about defense. Yeah, I first started watching Trey when he was in Oklahoma, and I was starting to see some headlines on ESPN like, hey, there's this kid out there who's putting up like, I think during the beginning of the season, he was putting up like 30 or 40 a game, and I was odd to me because he's not the biggest guy, he's not the most athletic guy, but he's very highly skilled, and I just started watching his game through YouTube highlights in college, and over here in Europe, you can't really watch the games live unless you stay up till 3 a.m. right? So I've been watching ever since he came in the NBA. Was watching YouTube highlights of him as well, and man, I just like his play style. It's exciting and it's fun to watch, and so I thought, well, why not start collecting the dude? Yeah, as far as his future goes, I think it's pretty bright, man. To be a second-year All-Star, average about 29 points and 9 assists as a point guard. I don't know if people give that. Maybe it's the inflated numbers these days because the offensive tempo is so high in the game. But man, I've never heard of 29 and 9 in a second-year point guard. That's crazy to me. So
that's absolutely crazy, and it's 30 and 9. I'll go ahead and round up for you, 29.6. So we'll round it up to 30 and 9 for young Trey. And dude, like you said, man, like it is a different offensive environment in the NBA these days, but his player efficiency rating is 24. That's 10th in the NBA. So like, it's not like he's putting together a bunch of inefficient points and empty points. Like, he's scoring his points very efficiently, and in the advanced analytics on Trey are telling us that he's making all his teammates a lot better players as well. He was obviously an all-star this year. How did you like seeing him in the all-star game this year?
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, like I said, anytime you're a second year and you can be named an all-star starter, that's pretty elite company in my opinion right there. I mean, he's in the East, so it's not the West, but man, I thought that was really cool. And I mean, like I said, like, again, every time I bring up Trey, someone talking about his defense, but if you want defense, go invest in Bruce Bowen and go collect Bruce Bowen and Ben Simmons and any of those other defensive wings. But I'll take Trey 29 and 9 any day, to be honest with you.
Dude, absolutely. Now, what do you think about his prospects as an Atlanta Hawk? Because when that team was healthy at the beginning of this current NBA season, they were looking formidable. And I think they opened up like really strong. They were looking like they were definitely in the playoff race. And then a bunch of injuries kind of happened, and it threw a wrench in the whole progression of the season. But, what do you think about him on the Hawks going forward next year? Do you think the Hawks are positioned to be a contender, or would you hope maybe to see him go to a different market and a different team? What do you want to see happen for him as his career unfolds?
Yeah, honestly, man, I think the Hawks are trash, dude. I can't. Hey, sorry, Hawks fans, sorry, Atlanta fans. Yeah, they just, man, they're bad. I mean, I just think the pieces right now they just don't work. Like, and they're so young. They're building through the draft, but there's a growing growing pain process there where it's like, man, you gotta develop all these young players' games, and man, some aren't going to develop as maybe they should because they're not going to get the minutes. And maybe if they kind of retool their roster, I know they brought in Capella, but man, the Hawks are bad. And you're right, Collins had the suspension, but it's just going to take a while for them to even mesh. They haven't even, and especially with everything going on in the world. It seems like team chemistry will be harder to achieve these days. And, he signed with Clutch Sports recently. So, maybe that's a sign of things to come. Because, Clutch Sports, I imagine them as an agent, they're really putting, that they'll put pressure on a team. They'll be in the players' ear saying, hey, there's maybe better opportunities out here. And, he works well in Atlanta though. But again, would I prefer to see him on another team? I probably would, if it would mean him being in an environment more conducive to winning. Cause part of the hobby is, the numbers are great, maybe for the first 1 to 3 years, right? And that potential is there. But, if you don't start winning, and I mean winning, like making deep runs in the playoffs and hell, even some chips, you're pretty much going to be relegated to third, second tier in the hobby real fast, right? Because that potential can only take you so far. So, I have fears that could he potentially turn into like a hobby Dame Lillard? That is my fear. And nothing against Dame, and Dame's values have shot up recently, right? But I think if you look at the quality of player that Lillard is, and him being in a small market, and him not really making that deep, memorable playoff run, it's for sure impacted his values. So, for me, Trey, I just hope that he is able to get, whether it's the Hawks or whether it's another team, if he can get on a team that can surround him with the right pieces to win, that's really where the place I want him to go. So, yeah.
Well said. I'm looking now at some of your Trae Young PC, and it's very impressive. And by the way, like, some of the smartest hobby guys I know are very high on Trey, and they have loaded up on his stuff, because even Dr. James Beckett, when I was talking to him a couple episodes ago, he was explaining that when I asked him the line of questions I ask everybody, who do you think is under and overvalued? And he was like, look, he said, I think Trae Young has a real chance because he always has the ball in his hands. And Dr. Beckett has a philosophy that players who have the ball in their hands a lot are very desirable in the hobby, especially when they can score at an efficiency rate that Trae Young can. But like you said too, there's people out there who are Trae Young skeptics, to say the least, and that's how it's going to be until we actually see some more. We get a larger sample size from the player, and we see what their career arc ultimately ends up being. But taking it back to your collection here, Flawless, Prism, you've got some incredible Trey cards. Maybe tell us about a handful of some of your favorite Trey cards in your collection. And don't be shy, don't be modest. Let us hear about the big cards you got.
Hardly any like major pieces. I try to get in where I fit in, and like I said, I've been collecting Trey from the start. And maybe where again, I got back into the hobby. It was like really late, maybe December 2018, January 2019 is when I came back. So, when I came back, it was following my Upper Deck lineage, right? And all I cared about were autos and RPAs. So, that kind of hurt me a bit, because again, during that time period, the hobby was, it's growing then, but it was by no means as crowded as it is today, and prices were generally low. So I didn't really get a chance to load up on all the Prism color and the Prism base cards, right? So that's just me. I tend to focus on RPAs and autographs. So I would say my favorite pieces in my collection is just the Flawless spread that I have. His vertical RPAs. Some people don't consider Flawless an RPA because it doesn't have the little Rookie Shield logo on there, but whatever, right? The vertical RPAs in Flawless, and then the star swatches in Flawless of Trey. And I graded those with PSA, and those can be tough grades. So those pieces right there for me, those are my favorite Trey cards, just because all the patches are pretty much multicolor. And again, I grew up on RPAs, so those are the cards that I gravitate towards. And I bought them when they first released. And so, yeah, I have them. I don't plan on selling them. I use my PC. So those are my favorite Trey cards for sure.
And they graded pretty well, because I'm looking at a post you made 5 days ago. Flawless vertical gold Trey RPA out of 10, pop 1. clean and simple design. Gold foil looks nice against the white background, and the PSA label matches perfectly with the silver of the red patch and Trey's shoes. Where does this card rank?
I would say that's probably top 1 or 2.
It's just a gorgeous card.
Yeah, it's just the flawless design. It's just clean, right? It's just simple, just a white background and a simple picture. And yeah, man, I really do enjoy that card a lot. I think it's one of his better ones. And, Panini recycles images a lot. So you've seen that image before, and it captures Trey's floater. And that's the shot he needs to use, right? He's a smaller guy. So when he's in that paint, he's tossing it, reminiscent of Tony Parker, right? So, that shot to me is one of the, I think one of the iconic images that Panini has used in 2018 for Trey's rookie is that shot of his floater.
And then I'm looking at here a pairing that you've posted of the Trey White Sparkle Prism Rookie BGS 9.5 True Gem and the Trey Blue Prism Rookie out of 199, also BGS 9.5. And you said you never understood the affinity towards Prism out of 199 blues until you got one in hand. And the beauty of the deep dark blue is super tough to capture in a picture, which is true. I've owned a Luca Blue once, or did I own one? I don't know. No, actually, I own the Fast Break. I always wanted a Luca Blue, but I never had one. So, and the blue does look incredible. So, tell us a little bit about your Prism pieces. These are two very, very nice Trey Prism rookies. Like, where does the White Sparkle rank for you? Where does the Blue Parallel rank for you?
Yeah, so I'd say as far as like Prism type cards, I would say my select courtside golds. I got 2 of those. I love that. I love that card, man. I love the design and I love the shot that you see in the select courtside gold. Not gold, but select courtside, right? They're all in-game action shots. But again, I think that's him going to the bucket, and just the way that gold design is. It's kind of reminiscent of like the old school. I want to say it was like X Fractors from Topps, I believe. It's like that. That it's just not a smooth shine. It kind of has the little. I don't even know how to explain it. Like that little design pattern that you see. But yeah, I would say those are my favorite Prism type cards. I want to say Prism, like non-auto, non-RPA type. It would be the select courtside gold, and then probably the Sparkle comes third. And I can't even remember what else I have. I got a card page, and I don't really post my cards too much. So yeah, those 3 though, the select courtside golds and the white sparkles, definitely top 3 for sure.
And then you've got this card really pops because of the way the jersey color matches. You've got the 2018 Optic Black Velocity Trey Young out of 39. And do you like this card? I know some people love the Black Velocity Optic Parallel, and like the picture you took of it really captures it pretty well.
Yeah, so I call them BVs, right? Black Velocities, man. Those are tough cards. I want to say the first, was it 2017? I'm not too sure when the first year they released Black Velocity, but the fact that it's limited to 39, and the fact that you could only get it in Optic, right? And Prism does not have a Black Velocity equal, right? I think they have. I'm trying to remember what Prism has, but they certainly don't have a Black Velocity, and I think that's what gives it its, I guess, unique flair, is that you can only get a Black Velocity in Optic. And so, with Trey and the photo that they used for Optic in 2018, it's just in the Black Hawks jersey, man, that card looks mean. I mean, that's a mean looking card, and definitely, I would say top 4 for me would be that Black Velocity. It's a shame those are only like $100 when they first came out. Now you're probably looking at I don't know, $500-$600 or something like that. But I have two, by the way. I have the second one getting graded right now, but those are tough grades. The centering is just jacked on those Black Velocities. Jacked. Yeah.
And I mean, that's probably why, like, raw, they're still under 4 figures, but I didn't realize they were still that cheap. I might need to go pick up one of those trays because before those take off, because those look awesome. All right, and then quickly, what are some other players that you have in your PC? I know you got this epic Conor McGregor, which you gemmed with BGS, which is classic, and then I think you've got maybe some Luka still in the PC, or maybe not. What's some of the other players and cards you got that are at the top of your list?
Yeah, so Luka is my side PC, and I was buying a lot of it. I don't want to say a lot, but as much as I could afford leading up into the 2019-2020 season. So I got like a couple Tigers, Blue Ice. I think I just posted an Opulence Hollow Gold out of 10 for Luka. I think I got a Finals ticket auto and just some other pieces like that. But I think I like 7 or 8 Luka cards, and I really like Luka. I think he's a generational talent, man. Him and Kristaps in Dallas. I think they got multiple chips in them, and so, man, his play style. So Trey's got this certain flair. Luka's got it too, and when you watch him play, you're never bored. And I think collecting players like that, you just can't go wrong. So I wish I bought more, Chris. Man, I wish I bought more, but
don't we all?
It's almost too late now. Like, I'm not too late. I mean, save up, and buy what you need. But man, it's hard to swallow paying 5, 6, 7, 8x of what we were paying back in 2018. That's there's some psychological damage that's done to the brain when you see a Luka Silver PSA 10 selling for $500-$600, and now they're at, I don't even know what they're at, close to $4. Like, how are you able to pull a trigger to buy a card like that now, knowing what you could have bought it for? It's just, that's the bad thing about collecting, in my opinion, is that, especially with a meteoric rise, your brain just gets like, man, I could have bought this a month ago for $2K less, right? It's hard to get over that hurdle. But yeah, okay, so Luka is my side PC. And then I got like one card of Tatum, and man, his stuff's going through the roof right now too. So that's kind of what I have. And yeah, and this little odd pieces that I enjoy collecting, like the Connor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We get grumpy when we've been around from day one. I remember having debates with people coming into this season about whether or not the Luka Prism Silver PSA 10 could go over $600, because we were like, man, this has to be the peak. This has to be it. This card can't go any higher. The population's too high. It just can't do it. And then now they're selling for just shy, like you said, of $4,000. So we get grumpy, and then we get kind of stuck in what we could have had, and then it just, that's why there's actually is somewhat of an advantage coming into the hobby with just a blank slate and fresh eyes, and you just survey the market for what it is, and you're not worried about what stuff used to be. You're really able to focus on where you think it could go. Like a lot of us who came into collecting Jordan like 4 or 5 years ago, we were able to come in and see that market with clear eyes, and we didn't have any baggage about what Jordans used to cost 3 or 4 years before that. So we just started buying up stuff at the market price. and then now we're all priced out, and new guys are coming in and doing the same thing to us. So is there any cure to that? Is there a remedy to that? Like, is there a way to just forget, to have a short memory and push reset? Or maybe we shouldn't do that. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I just think you just have to realize where the market's at, right? And that you're going to pay more, but it is the going market rate, and there's just no way getting around that, And I remember when I was buying my Lukas leading up into the season, some of those pieces I was paying was the most ever, right? I mean, they were all-time highs, and I just wanted the card. So, I just think if you just do your research, and to me, if it's a rare card, you're probably going to pay. And I guess there's just no way around that. But if you have faith in the player and and you have strong, like when you have faith in a player and you have that connection with his play style and I think you're going to develop strong hands, and I mean you can hold through any type of downturn. So I just think it's just knowing the market, doing your research, and if you're going to pay for those rare pieces, you just got to, if you really want that card. I guess you could try to wait, but my goodness, like what has that done for us in the past like week? You wait and it's up another 25-30%. Maybe it's just, this is the way the market is.
For sure, man. Okay, let me ask you a little bit about video game collecting. You have put this on my radar. I see a couple other guys in the hobby have started talking about it a little bit too. Tell me a little bit about your video game collection. What inspired that? How can we learn a little bit more about collecting those classic video games?
Yeah, so with the rise in sports cards and just the dollar not going as far as it once used to, now I was starting to try to look at other avenues, like, things that I enjoy collecting, because I mean we're all collectors at heart, like, and it kind of spins off from sports cards into maybe comic books, right? That's kind of a natural avenue that I've seen people use. But man, I just was like one day, and I don't know what it was. I don't know what I saw, but I saw it was like a graded video game somewhere. I'm like, wait, hold up here. Like, they're grading video games? And I just started doing some research on it, and come to find out it's blown up. I mean, sports cards, like Pokemon cards, other collectibles, they've blown up. Video games, yeah, it's blown up fast. And if you think that maybe sports cards is in the third, fourth inning of a baseball game, man, video games is like still in like BP, batter's practice, because it's just, I would say, if I could describe it in 3 words, it's the wild, wild west, because it's a very immature marketplace. They don't have pop reports. Like, the comps are all over the place. But yeah, it's a scene that's starting to gain some traction out there, and you're starting to see news coverage on it as well from some of the different auctions that have completed, like a Super Mario Brothers 1 high grade. Just sold for like $115K. Mike Tyson's Punch Out, like high grades. These are all sealed games, right? And just think about that. Think about the supply of a sealed video game. Like, how many of those survived 20, 30 plus years, right? I mean, when we were kids, we got our Mario Brothers like for Christmas or whatever. We was opening that damn thing within a minute of getting it, right? So just think of the voyage that a sealed game has been throughout its years, and somehow making its way into a grader's hand over at WADA, and that's the grading company that seems to be taking a strong hold of that market. WATA, WADA. Yeah, it's just really cool. It gives you that like nostalgic factor of what you had and when you were a kid, and brings back memories. So I just think it's a really interesting space that's gaining traction, and and it's maybe something that you guys should take a look at. I think it's a cool space.
What are maybe some, like, as you've been explaining to me before, you sometimes put it into card terms so that I get it. You're like, this is the PMG, this is the Prism Gold, like these are the big games. Like, what are some of the fun games that maybe we could start looking at if we wanted to, get involved in this scene?
Yeah. So, I think to me, like, it's almost like taking that approach of collecting the blue chips in sports. So like in the video game world, like I would say the blue chips are like Mario, like Super Mario Brothers, Contra, if you remember Contra back from NES, Castlevania, Metroid, the Nintendo scene. I think that's really, in my opinion, the kind of best era to focus on is the sealed NES games from back in the day. And then when you focus on those classics, like Mario, Castlevania, and Metroid, I don't think you can go wrong. I think it's like investing some of the blue chip guys. We have like the Lucas and the Treys and the Zions. I think that's kind of, but even I think you can even take it further, right? I think you could call Mario like the Jordan, right? He is the Jordan. And the Super Mario Brothers 1 is the equivalent of an 86, 87 Fleer Jordan rookie card. I mean, that's how I see it, right? Because to me, Super Mario Brothers 1 is kind of like, it is that staple game that probably everyone will remember, like growing up in that time. So that's the one equivalent I can make. A WADA to me is the PSA, right, of grading in the video game space. But yeah, I just think focusing on those Nintendo games that were the games to have back in the day. And so that can be a little tough though, because the younger collector probably grew up on PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. So, and whatever it was, a GameCube or whatever they have now for Nintendo. But that's where I think may be tough for the younger collector to get into the video game spaces, because they probably don't have that history on the older games.
Give me an idea of like what a Super Mario's or a Castlevania used to be one of my favorite games to play. What's like a high grade copy sealed of one of those games go for?
Yeah, so I think you probably want to stick with sealed games. They do grade, they call it complete in box. That means it's been open, and then the WADA will grade like the cart and the box and the manual, right? But you probably want to stay with sealed. I just think that's what you want to be at. That's where you want to be at. And so like a sealed Castlevania, and most of these games, they're starting to come on eBay, and actually Probstein's starting to sell them. So that's a good sign. But mostly yeah, Probstein. But mostly the big dog games, you're going to find it as from heritage auctions. And so like a Castlevania 9.0, and again, when you're grading, when you're buying graded games, the advice that I've gotten, really depending on the game, but mostly you probably want to be above a 9.0 for the grade. The Castlevania 9.0, I think it went for like $8K. And it again, and also another thing about video games is that there's different runs. It's like a comic book, right? You always want to try to get that first print. And so the Castlevania that went for 8K, I think that was like a later print. I think if you got an earlier print Castlevania, I don't even want to know what that figure is. I can't even imagine. Yeah.
Okay, so there's serious money flowing into this stuff. I knew that from what you've shared with us, but I wanted the audience to know that too. There's some serious money in video games.
Yeah, and it's when I got my first, so my collection basically consists of the games that I grew up playing. It's not for, this is not purely investment, right? It's actually having a connection to the game. So it's Super Mario Brothers 2 and 3, Ninja Gaiden. These were the games that I remember buying when I was a kid and playing them. So yeah, it's a cool space, especially if you played old school Nintendo games. Definitely check it out. It's fun, and when you get your first graded game, it's like when you first bought your first graded card. It just feels like official. It's cool.
Well, it's super interesting, and like I definitely like markets that have like collector fundamentals to them. Markets that are populated by people who really have an intrinsic appreciation, or the item has an intrinsic value to the collector. I think those are the markets that tend to be strong, because like you said, like we're not just collecting stuff because we think it's going to go up in value and then we're going to play hot potato with it. We're collecting stuff because it means something to us, because we like having it around. We like to look at it. We like to connect to it. We like the nostalgia factor of it, etc. So that makes that getting into that scene enticing to me. And I've got connections to all those games you mentioned. What about Zelda?
Oh, I forgot about Zelda. That game is out of reach.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, it's in the same lines as Castlevania. Yeah, I think an 8.0 just sold for. I was just on the recent Heritage auction block. I want to say, and then of course, with the buyer's premium. Honestly, it was like $7K for an 8.0. Yeah.
Wow.
You remember
Okay.
that? Hey, Chris, you remember that gold cartridge? You remember that?
No, what's the man?
Oh, so wait, were you not Nintendo? You were not Nintendo Zelda? Were
Oh
you
no,
like,
no, no. I was Nintendo for sure. I used to play the hell out of Legend of Zelda, but like
yeah, it was a
I
gold
don't
cartridge, man. Come on, man.
I see. I don't know, man. I'm not. I gotta step it up again. It's been a little while. I don't. I also was never good at video games. That didn't stop me from playing them, but
You know,
maybe I blocked out the gold cartridge.
and that's another thing about video games. Like the people who grew up playing video games, man, they're the ones in Silicon Valley. They're the ones with these crazy jobs right now, and they gonna to bring them back to their childhood. They got the pockets to really like really buy the games, man. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. No, I see all the stars aligning for that market in a very interesting way. Okay. Let me get to the final questions that I ask everybody, and just fun questions. No, these are just lighthearted questions here. What do you like better? Do you like watching sports better, or do you like collecting sports cards better?
Oh man, this is easy. It's watching sports. Like
Okay. Let me just jump in for a second. You're the first person to say that. Okay, so like I love this. I love this because everybody thinks that their answer is like the clear-cut one. So now I believe the tally is 3-1, and you're the first person to vote for watching sports. Okay, please go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm very excited that you voted that way.
I mean, yeah, it is watching sports. I mean, especially when you frame it as sports card collecting or watching sports. I wouldn't collect these cards if I didn't watch them play sports on TV. Like I just wouldn't. Like I wouldn't know who Trey. If there's no basketball, I wouldn't know Trey Young. And if you put Trey Young on a cardboard and he wasn't a basketball player, well, certainly he's just a picture of a random dude, and I'm not gonna collect that. So yeah, watching sports to me, it's just ever since I could remember, I watched NBA basketball, and that is what got me into card collecting. I also watched baseball and football growing up, and yeah, it was just having I always thought it was cool to own a card of players that I really liked watching, and it was almost like I would root for them harder because I would see my card. I'm like, hey, I own a piece. Just have a collectible of this guy, and I want him to do well. And it made me focus more attention on sports because of that. So, yeah, man. Without sports, without the sport, there is no sports card of the sport. So it's always been watching sports for me. And if I had to give up one today, as much as I love the hobby and as much as I like collecting, man, I'd have to give up sports card because I gotta watch sports, man. I mean, I love watching sports. So
that's an interesting way to frame it. Is if you had to give one up, if you could only keep one, because it would be tough to keep sports cards if there were no sports to relate them to. Interesting.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to put it. Okay, the debate continues. Okay, what here in the final questions here? It's a two-parter. What player or card do you currently think is undervalued? And it just one, if you have any. And that's almost like shooting fish in a barrel in this market right now, because just picking winners in a bull market, like you almost cannot make a bad choice. Although I have made several bad choices, but it's hard to do. But so the first one is, what player or card do you think is currently undervalued, and what player or card do you currently think is overvalued? And you can answer those in whatever order you'd like.
Yeah, overvalued. I'll start there. Man, that's a tough one. If I had to go overvalued, I'd probably just go with anything that's got a recent pump from any type of, like major like sports card investment platform or any type of influencer in the hobby, right? Anything that's got a recent pump. I just think they become overvalued instantaneously. And so you probably want to just wait a little bit before jumping on that train. And so that's so like recently you've seen posts about, I think, Devin Booker and a lot of Shaq beam teams. So I would automatically say those are overvalued at the moment, and maybe just try to wait a little bit until that hype dies down. For undervalued, I don't know, man. Maybe this is a tough question, especially when you ask a collector. I'm probably always going to go to their PC guys. So I'm going to just say Trey. I'm going to say Trey, man. I mean, I feel like, I think there was one point last season where Trey was kind of like Trey and Luka. Like Luka cards are almost like a 2x from Trey. And that gap has significantly grown. And then when you look at Trey compared to Ja, I mean, and I do both those comparisons when I'm buying a Trey card. Like, I'll look at what the comparable Luka card went for, and then I'll look at what the comparable Ja card went for if Ja's got that release out. And so that's when I try to find like those type of disconnects, and then of course that's what leads me to something being undervalued. So like a Trey courtside gold, like those, like the Ja Morant courtside gold went for like $6K. The 1 out of 10, just a standard gold, not the T-Mall or whatever the hell they got these days, all the different parallels. It's the Ja courtside gold went for $6K. And so when I had a chance to buy the Trey courtside gold for $2K, I was like, well, I have no idea why Ja is selling at this crazy of a multiplier to Trey. So that was like, all right, well, to me, that's an undervalued card. So I just think Trey is the guy that's undervalued right now. And although recently, as you've seen, like in the past month, I think his silvers are up to $1,500 right now. They were like at $700 a month ago. So maybe he's not as undervalued anymore as he was a month prior. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was just gonna say, man. Is like, had we recorded this just a week or two ago, even, and you would have seemed like an oracle, because Trey's market has doubled, basically, in the last week or two.
Yep, I know. I mean, but again, it's for sure. I don't know if it's this rising tide lifts all boats, right? As silvers have gone through the roof, but man, there's pockets out there of like some nice autographs that you can definitely get that have not seen those type of gains. So I would just say, maybe just not always focus on a PSA 10 silver. Maybe there's cards out there that you'd like to design, and maybe they haven't gone up as much.
That's great advice. And in fact, that is the note that we will conclude on. Mr. Lamim James, as they know you throughout the hobby, thank you very, very much for coming on. This has been a wide-ranging discussion. I mean, I'm just looking back over my notes, and like we touched on a lot of different topics here. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. I hope you'll come back on again in the future. Please keep making the memes. If there's any shout outs, any plugs you want to give, anything like that, please use this as an opportunity to do it, my friend.
Yeah, man. Hey, just real quick, because I do get this a lot. Hey, the memes that I generate, guys, they're not, I would never target an individual. I would just attack anyone personally. Like, when I come out with a meme, it's not about attacking anyone. It's like I said, when I put out some stuff on Cam Reddish's auto, it's about the auto. It's not about the seller. It's not about you. It's never a personal attack. And I just hope people realize that I'm just trying to put out content that, we can talk about and maybe just bring up some thoughts and present data in a little different way. And that's really what it is, man. It's all love. I'm not trying to come at anyone. I've had some people DM me, if I post something, like I post a crazy auction with like a 50K ask price. And again, it's not against that seller. I don't put the seller's information in the post. It's mainly just saying, hey, man, this is a crazy price, and I think we can get some comedic relief here. But, again, it's not against the seller. It's just the actual auction itself, man. So, it's, again, I would never attack anyone, like, personally, and I just hope the hobby just continues to see it that way, man. I'm making these memes for you, and I just hope you just get my goal is just to put a smile on someone's face, like, when they see it. That's the main goal. It just maybe just gives you just a relief from everyday life, and of course the seriousness of the hobby, and just like we talked about earlier, Chris. So I guess that's my message on memes, man. I'm making it for you guys, and it's not a personal attack. And if you take it that way, man, I do apologize now. And then, of course, Chris, hey, man, I want to give a shout out to House of Jordans again, like probably the first podcast I listened to, man. I appreciate the invite. Man, I really like the way you guys do it, man. You guys are very transparent. There is no ulterior motives from you guys. It's true, purist, like people in the hobby, like putting out content for the hobby. And you can't go wrong with that, man. You can't go wrong that way. And just keep doing what you're doing, man, for sure.
Man, thank you so much. Me and Christina are maybe the two biggest fans of the Lameme James Instagram page, or pretty close. And like, you made a meme that included Christina one time, and like she was on cloud 9 for the whole day. I couldn't say anything to her. She was so pumped up by the fact that she got featured in one of your videos.
When she brings up the orange, show her that meme. Hey, Christina, I made that meme for you because Chris told me to.
Oh, all right, man. Thank you again for coming on. Guys, this has been Conversation with Chris, episode 7. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.